Have you ever met someone who seems calm on the surface but carries a thunderstorm of meaning underneath? Someone who smiles politely at small talk but is quietly mapping the architecture of your motives, your hopes, and your hurts? That's the INFJ. People call them rare, but that word doesn't do them justice. Rare is a stamp, static and collectible. INFJs are not stamps. They are living paradoxes, soft-spoken, steel-spined, future-minded, memory-tethered, compassionate to a fault, yet ruthlessly discerning when something threatens what they love. Today, I'm going to show you, clearly, practically, and maybe a bit uncomfortably, why the INFJ is far from normal and exactly how it shows up in everyday life. Let's start with the first thing most people notice. INFJs don't just listen, they absorb. There's a difference. A normal conversation is a ping-pong match, your turn, my turn. With an INFJ, it's sonar. They send out a quiet pulse, a question, and wait for all the echoes that come back from your words, your pauses, your eyes, your posture, your contradictions. They remember you said you love your job, but your voice dipped 3 notes when you said it. They caught how you smiled when you mentioned your grandmother, so they'll ask about her next time you meet, even if it's months later. Normal is collecting facts. INFJ is collecting patterns, and patterns tell stories. And those patterns live in an inner world most people never see. On the outside, an INFJ can look serene, even passive. Inside, there's a room full of books and strings pulled across a wall. Red thread from cause to effect, from possibility to consequence. You might think they're shy. They're actually running simulations. What happens if I say this? What happens if I don't? Who gets hurt? Who gets healed? That's why they often hesitate before speaking. It's not social anxiety. It's moral calculus. Normal minds chase what's shiny. INFJ minds chase what's true, and then they check if that truth is good. Another way it shows, they filter relationships through meaning instead of momentum. Lots of people keep friends because we've known each other forever. The INFJ keeps friends because we grow each other. If you stop growing together, if the connection becomes shallow, manipulative, or numb, they won't explode, they'll evaporate. Slowly. Kindly. Without drama. Most people need a reason to stay. INFJs need a mission to stay. That's why their circle is small and astonishingly loyal. They don't collect people, they cultivate them. Let's talk about kindness, because this is where folks get INFJs wrong. Their empathy is not passive. It's active. It moves. An INFJ will notice the quiet student in the back and change the entire group plan so that person has a way to contribute without fear. They'll send the check-in text at 11:37 p.m. because they felt the emotional temperature drop in your last message. But here's what's far from normal. Their kindness is fused to discernment. If you exploit it, they'll still be kind, but they'll adjust the boundary like a master locksmith. That's the INFJ paradox. They will forgive and then restructure the system so it never happens again. You'll see the difference in conflict too. Most people fight to win. INFJs fight to realign. They don't want to beat you. They want the truth to beat the problem. They ask, what are we actually trying to protect here? That's why they can frustrate people who crave quick, loud, decisive outcomes. The INFJ is willing to wait and choose words like a surgeon chooses instruments. And when the moment comes, when the harm is clear, when the pattern is undeniable, watch out. They will set a boundary with the gentleness of a lullaby and the finality of a verdict. Another mark, their relationship with time. A normal plan is linear, step 1, 2, 3. The INFJ plan is telescopic. They zoom from the constellation to the teaspoon and back again. They will imagine a 5-year vision in a single afternoon and then forget to eat because they're perfecting the first email to start it all. This is why they sometimes look inconsistent, a month of brilliant output, then silence. It's not laziness, it's gestation. Their best ideas go underground before they bloom above ground. If you push during that underground phase, you'll get resistance, not because they're stubborn, but because you're knocking on soil that's full of seeds. Let's address their quiet. People mistake it for passivity, but INFJ quiet has weight. It changes rooms. A normal silence makes people fidget. An INFJ silence makes people reflect. They pause and others start revealing more than they planned. This isn't manipulation, it's resonance. Deep people create deep space. Their presence says, "It's safe to be honest here." And suddenly the conversation follows gravity downward. You'll also notice their strange mix of idealism and realism. Many claim big values and then compromise them when the price shows up. INFJs pay the price. If they believe in justice, they'll organize it, fund it, drive it, stay late for it, and collapse on the couch after it. But they aren't naive. They expect resistance. They know institutions calcify and egos flare. They aren't shocked by human failure, they're saddened by it. And because they expect it, they plan around it, choosing people carefully, building backups, and installing accountability before it's cool. Here's a daily example: decision-making at the grocery store. A normal shopper grabs the cheapest or the familiar brand. The INFJ looks at price, ingredients, ethics, and impact. Why? Because values aren't slogans to them, they're operating systems. This can make life heavier. Choosing is tiring when every choice casts a moral shadow. But it's also what makes INFJ trust almost unbreakable. If they say, "I've thought about this," assume they've thought about the next 5 consequences too. Let's go even deeper, into the way they read people. Many folks read behavior. INFJs read motivations. You snapped at the waiter. They file it, not as "you're rude," but as "you're frayed at the edges." They'll look for the thread. Stress at work? A feeling of invisibility at home? They don't excuse bad behavior, but they explain it, and then they choose how to respond. Sometimes that response is compassion with a boundary. "I see you, but we don't do that here." Far from normal, right? Most of us either empathize without structure or structure without empathy. They do both at once. This integrative quality shows up in creativity too. The INFJ is a blender. They'll merge theology with therapy, business with ethics, storytelling with data. They hate false divides. To them, the world is a tapestry, not a filing cabinet. Give them a complex problem and they won't give you a one-point answer. They'll give you a narrative. Here's how we got here. Here's how it feels. Here's what it means. And here's the path out. They don't fix things by force. They midwife new systems. Watch how they handle praise and criticism. Praise embarrasses them more than it inflates them. Why? Because compliments feel incomplete when the mission isn't finished. Criticism, on the other hand, they'll metabolize, slowly and privately. They won't clap back online. They'll write in a journal, analyze the signal within the noise, and quietly implement changes if the critique is fair. If it's not, they won't drag you into a public argument. They'll outgrow the conversation and let time be the referee. Now about romantic love, because this is where the far from normal label becomes unmistakable. INFJs don't date to fill a gap. They relate to build a life. Courtship to them is research plus worship. Researching your patterns, your values, your triggers, and worshiping, not you, but the future you're both able to create. They'll plan a date that looks simple but hits 10 layers of your story. They'll remember you hate overhead lighting, so the restaurant is candlelit. They'll notice your nostalgia for summers at the lake and pick a walk by the water. It's not performative. It's a love language built out of observant devotion. And if they sense you want attention more than intimacy, they'll feel the difference like temperature and withdraw without a scene. The shadow side matters too. That same depth can turn into overthinking. That same empathy can become exhaustion. That same idealism can decay into harsh self-critique when they fall short. Here is the INFJ's far from normal courage. They face their shadow on purpose. They build rituals to protect their energy, mornings without noise, evenings with books, boundaries around doom scrolling, boundaries around people who confuse drama with depth. They learn to say, "I love you, and I won't carry what's yours to carry." That line, spoken with peace, is the INFJ's spiritual revolution. Career is another arena where they stand out. Many people chase titles, INFJs chase purpose. If a job gives status but robs meaning, they'll start drying out. You'll see it in their eyes first. Then, you'll see a shift. A certificate on the desk for a counseling course, a late-night portfolio for a mission-driven startup, a volunteer project that accidentally becomes a new career. They're not impulsive. They're aligning the outer life to the inner compass. And yes, it looks sudden from the outside, like the day a cliff collapses. But cliffs don't collapse. They erode. INFJs do their erosion privately, then one day the shoreline is new. Let's talk boundaries because people think INFJs don't have them. Wrong. They do, custom designed and invisible until needed. A normal boundary is loud, don't cross this line. An INFJ boundary is architectural. The line is built into the floor plan. The conversation never gets to the room you want to enter. The email never creates the expectation. The ask never finds a hook to hang on. It's not icy, it's intelligent. If you are safe, you'll never notice. If you aren't, you'll feel like the house has no doors. Here's something beautiful and weird. Their relationship with joy. They don't chase hype, they curate wonder. The small cup of tea with a cinnamon stick. The way sunlight lands on a plant. The miniature victories of friends. They carry a museum curator's eye for meaning. This is why their presence calms anxious people. They radiate. There is enough here. In a world that confuses stimulation with satisfaction, the INFJ returns to the sacrament of small things, and that, strangely, makes them more powerful when big moments come. When they mentor, it's surgical. They don't dump advice. They ask questions that move the hinge. When did you learn you had to be perfect to be loved? What does success look like if you remove everyone else's expectations? Those questions aren't random. They're keys cut to your lock. After that, they give you a homework assignment that looks deceptively simple and ends up changing the architecture of your week. That's not normal mentorship. That's transformation disguised as conversation. Let's zoom into a stressful day. Most people react. INFJs reroute. The meeting goes sideways. They go quiet, take 3 notes that summarize the whole failure, then propose a path that preserves dignity while fixing the mess. Later, they'll decompress alone, not to sulk but to integrate. They don't want to get over it. They want to learn from it, so the system gets wiser. They build lives that remember. If you want to understand their power, watch what they do with pain. Pain hardens many people into cynics or melts them into victims. INFJs turn pain into purpose. They ask, where does this hurt point to a broken structure? Then they set about redesigning that structure. Family dynamics, team norms, community rules, even their own habits. Their healing isn't just personal, it's architectural. They restore the house while patching the leak. Now a word on authenticity. The world sells authenticity like raw, unfiltered expression. Say everything, show everything. INFJs practice a deeper version. Their authenticity is coherence, making sure the story they tell with their life matches the story they believe with their soul. That's why they're selective with self-disclosure. Not because they're fake, but because intimacy without discernment is just exhibition. Their truth is not a live stream, it's a covenant.